Good morning. We normally just do COVID, but a great thing happened, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But today I have a question for you. How would you be suspended for having a flag on your truck? I mean, think about it. You're carrying a big flag on your truck because you love your country. I love my country. But how would you feel if your principal came up to you and said, the flag is blocking the parking lot, this, that. And they told you that you don't take off the flag, then you're going to be suspended. And you don't listen. You get suspended from school. Then after that, you don't listen and say no. Then they call you up, and then otherwise, then you get suspended. And your parents, and you come home, and your parents are like, "How was school?" I got suspended. What for? For having a flag on my truck. That's exactly what happened. We're going to look at some stories about the Confederate flag. Now, I don't know what the Confederate flag means, but let me tell you what it means. Violent symbolism. That's the battle flag. So let's look at some stories about students who were suspended for having a Confederate flag and having an American flag on their truck. Take a look.
A local teen is learning that free speech has its limits when it comes to the Confederate flag. Ryan Delicato flies that flag on his truck, and Warrenmont High School told him he had to remove it if he wants to continue to park on school grounds. But there it was again this morning as Ryan arrived for class. Our Priya Man reports the school wasn't kidding around.
This flag conjures up a lot of opinions and a lot of emotions. Well, the high school student who was suspended for flying this flag says his rights were violated.
It's kind of bullcrap.
17-year-old Ryan Delicato was suspended after flying the Confederate flag on the back of his truck and parking on school property.
It was saying they were harming other kids' education and everything because it was a distraction to them.
The senior goes to Warrenmont High School. He says the Confederate flag is not racist, but a symbol of his family's history.
It's for our Southern heritage and not for race, nothing like that.
He might as well ride around with a white sheet on his head.
The superintendent tells Local 4 this is the third time Delicato brought the flag to school. On Wednesday, the teen was warned he'd be suspended if he did it again. This morning, the senior was sent home for the day.
They're saying I have no freedom of speech in school, and I think that's wrong.
A child who takes one thing the wrong way, and now it's blown up to this.
The superintendent says numerous students complained about the flag and staged a protest. At one point, someone even cut down Delicato's Confederate flag.
He felt like it was a slap in the face that a kid could come to school with that flag and nothing was done about it.
I understand that people have some issues with the flag. I understand that. But we can't just all stop doing things just because somebody doesn't like something.
Now, the superintendent of Warren Consolidated Schools says while they respect the First Amendment, their policy prohibits them from allowing anyone to bring materials to school that could be disruptive, and that includes the Confederate flag. She says that if Ryan does bring the Confederate flag back to school, he will be suspended again, followed by a more progressive discipline. I asked Ryan, are you going to do it? And he said, probably not. It's not worth getting suspended again so close to graduation. Reporting live, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
And again, if they schools respect First Amendment rights, but you have to understand you brought the flag, and they tell you if you bring it again, you will be suspended, and a more disciplinary action. So in this case, I have to side with the school on this one because the school respects for everyone's First Amendment rights, but there are restrictions about that people need to take. And if you look at Supreme Court cases, they broaden it. I mean, they're going to restrict. I mean, one Supreme Court case, you don't shed your rights at the schoolhouse gate. And a bit later, a lawsuit that happened back in... And a bit later... Actually, let's just take a break. I can't even talk today, so let's take a break. When we come back, there's going to be more of these students who got suspended over... School who told students to remove their flag from the truck and got suspended. Unlike other people. In other words, we're going to hear the student side and the school side of the story. And then later, a school who was... And later, suing the school. One school charter was sued years ago because of a Facebook post. Don't go away. Welcome back. You just joined us. This morning, we're looking at students who got suspended for having flags flown over their trucks, meaning the Confederate flag. We just focused on one student who was suspended for it, and if he did it again, he would be suspended. So now let's look at another one for WPDE ABC 15, who actually did the same thing, but we don't know.
She's my baby, that's for sure.
Ashton Jacobs says what's on his truck shows his pride.
It has such an appeal to it, and it's just like, I don't know, it just feels good for me.
But while the names on the side are written in mud, what's gotten him in trouble lately is what he flies from the back.
If this would have never happened, then there'd be no controversy over it. I wouldn't, flaunt it or anything. It's just on my truck because I like it.
Earlier this month, when he brought his truck with the Confederate flag in tow to his school, he says the Carolina Forest High School resource officer told him he had to take it down.
I was like, all right. I just called my mom, and I was like, they told me to take my flag down.
But while the young man obliged, he and his family still don't agree.
I'm sorry that the Confederate battle flag offends people. I really am. But I want people to know that I'm here to tell them that it's only got to do with our heritage, and that is it.
It still equates down to it's a place of learning.
Horry County School Board member Joe DeFeo says Ashton was forced to take the flag down because it could be offensive to others.
I understand the quote-unquote free speech, but you have to remember the Supreme Court already said there is not unlimited free speech in a school. It's a place of learning.
But limited free speech anywhere is why the family is hiring a lawyer.
I just simply want the school board to let these kids have a freedom of speech, whether it be if they want to fly the Mexican flag, the American flag, the Italian flag, whatever it may be. To a point, let them have freedom of speech.
And any time he's not at school, Ashton plans to keep the flag right where he wants it, in the back of his truck.
It's just a symbol for me personally.
A flag that represents his pride, but often represents another man's pain. In Horry County, Ryan Knockan, News Channel 15.
And again, we have to understand, schools respect quote-unquote free speech, but the Supreme Court said there's limits to it. And like she said, you can find a Mexican flag. That brings us to the graduation party that was happening years ago. Remember, I told you about this one? Remember back in 2021? I told you about this one? It was about a guy who had his graduation stuff on, but he had his Mexican flag on him. And he was denied his diploma because of that Mexican flag. But how would you feel if they have a school flag policy on your truck? That's what happened. So let's take a look at this one.
School officials tell WBTV it's a safety issue, that no flags of any kind are allowed to be flown on vehicles. But Peyton Robinson says he's had the flag on his pickup truck last year and again this year for the past month, and no one has said anything until now. Just 18 years old, Peyton Robinson wears his heart on his sleeve.
Just proud to be an American citizen.
Outside his house, the American flag is like a greeter.
I've had family members who've served.
The American flag and the POW MIA flag fly on his pickup. But shortly after Robinson arrived at York Comprehensive High School Wednesday morning, he says an administrator drew a line.
He said, we're having some issues. Some people was complaining about the flags on your truck, possibly offend them.
According to Robinson, he was told to remove the flags when he got home and not to come back with them. The high school senior is upset.
I'd understand if it was a Confederate flag or something that might offend somebody. I wouldn't do that. But an American flag, that's our country's flag. I've every right to do it.
Old Glory is flying at the high school. The school district says the students were told they couldn't have any physical flags on their cars because of safety.
I don't see a safety issue. I mean, I understand it's a big flag. It's 4x6, but nobody's complained about it being in their way or anything.
Robinson says before the school day was over, an administrator went to his truck, removed the bolts, and took the flags down.
I was pretty mad.
He posted about the incident on his Facebook page. By nightfall,
So let me read you this Facebook page.
To his truck, removed the bolts, and took the flags down.
I was pretty mad.
This is from Peyton Robinson. This was on Instagram. This is what he said, and I quote, I've been told by 2 administrators at my school this morning that I can't have an American flag on my truck because other people have complained about it. Well, let me tell you something. I have every right to fly an American flag. It will not be coming off my truck. This really pisses me off. I ask that anyone that sees this post that attends York Comprehensive flies an American flag of some sort on whatever they may drive to school tomorrow to prove a point. I will not let this go down without a fight. Hashtag America. Hashtag fight for our right.
Posted about the incident on his Facebook page. By nightfall, some fellow students were in solidarity at the high school flying the flags on their cars. They're vowing to do it Thursday morning, regardless of penalty. School officials say it's a pre-existing policy, but Peyton Robinson said in the morning he was told the flags offended some people. In the afternoon, school administrators said it was a safety issue. Robinson is wondering, which is it? In York, Colleen Harry, WBTV, on your side.
And what about the safety issue? Well, let me tell you something. If a flag were to, like, you take that flag, put it on a pole, it flies around, hits that person, bam. And how about a distraction? They look in that window and say, it's the American flag! It's the Confederate flag! Or whatever it is. And people take snaps of it. So why is a distraction? And a safety issue, if you have that in mind. So after that, we don't know if he was still suspended. But what we do know is many schools stand by free speech, but they limit it and have policies about it. Try to understand that. Just try to. And speaking of First Amendment, when we return a lawsuit from years ago, how would you feel if you were suspended for your freedom of speech, but then you had to take it a step further and sued your charter school for liking a Facebook post? That's what happened years ago, and we're going to tell you about that when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back. How would you feel if you got suspended for liking a Facebook post? That's when one charter school happened years ago. When they got suspended for liking a Facebook post. And then minutes later, parents got involved. The 2 parents on a Spanish language newspaper, they didn't like it. They got banned from campus. So let's take a look.
We're in Colorado first at 5, and students and parents at a Commerce City charter school believe the school violated their First Amendment rights, and now they're banding together. They're actually filing a lawsuit against the school.
Yeah, that lawsuit also targets the principal. Investigator Brian Moss breaking the story for us all tonight, and Brian joins us to explain what's going on. Brian.
Well, in this lawsuit that was just filed in the last couple of hours, the students say they were disciplined for even making comments about the principal on Facebook. Police were called to Victory Prep Charter School 14 months ago.
That was September 2017.
After a student protest against school administrators snowballed, and all 120 students were suspended for the rest of the day. They had refused to repeat the school's daily pledge that morning and submitted a list of grievances. So the school sent everyone home.
Well, at that time, we started recording verbally and started recording video.
But Joel and Mary Flores, who have a student at the school, say it got even worse when they came to pick up their son. They owned this Spanish-language newspaper, so documented what happened. 2 days after the protest, they published this front-page article. They didn't like your reporting.
No, they didn't, because it brought bad press to them.
Days after that newspaper story, the school dropped this letter on the Flores family.
So let me read you this. I can probably see it, so let me read you. This was October 2017. And when I say I quote, I mean I quote. So, it says, and I quote, Mary and Joe Flores, on September 28, 2017, school surveillance recording the process of our students being released home to their families. You chose to detain, film, and photograph Victory Preparatory Academy students and your family without school and parent permission. This activity is not only illegal, it is a violation of school policy and your family's agreement regarding the conduct of school grounds. Your actions created an unsafe situation with police intervention. You also intentionally chose to create a false narrative with students, the public, and the media regarding your VPA student activities and school administration decisions. Although school administrators were literally 10 feet away, you made no effort to clarify any aspect of the activities and actions of the school leaders, nor have you to date. Your actions on December 28th and an perpetuation of information which is false and manipulative regarding Victory Preparatory Academy is being reviewed by corporate legal counsel, law enforcement, and CLA/VPA board of directors. Until the review can be completed and processed, you are not permitted on CLA/VPA school properties at any time. The story is also a reminder that CLA/VPA campuses are private property with legal rights and authority therein. Failure to comply with this directive will result in law enforcement intervention.
Saying they had detained students without permission for interviews and created a, quote, false narrative, broken school rules through their reporting efforts. They were, and still are, banned from campus.
We missed all the parent-teacher conferences. We missed all the soccer games that are home field.
In this new federal lawsuit against the school, parents and students contend other students were suspended for going on Facebook and making derogatory comments about the principal. The lawsuit maintains other students who simply liked those comments were then suspended.
This school has trampled on the constitutional rights of not only the students at the school, but their parents, and frankly, the entire community.
Matt Crone represents the Flores family and filed the First Amendment lawsuit.
Kids have constitutional rights in our school system. They don't abandon those rights when they walk through the school doors in the morning.
Joel Flores spent 5 years in the military and says he defended the Constitution and First Amendment freedoms.
As a veteran, that's what I served for.
We repeatedly called Victory Prep CEO and principal, and he did not return any of our calls. We will keep trying.
All right, thank you, Brian.
You bet.
And you bet also. I don't know if this lawsuit was in court, but I can tell you they would. But I tell you, if I had heard about this in court before, during the second season, during my first season, I would have heard about this, report to you guys, and then during the second season or whatever, then I would report it to you, and then we would have known. But do we know more now? Let's find out. Now, in that lawsuit, students from public schools clearly established a right to engage in political speech and protest at school, provided the speech does not cause any material disruption to the educational environment, that lawsuit states. Lutz says, so the lawsuit is to vindicate the rights of these students and parents. So now we know. We now know what happened. But this document file has like questions like about disciplinary issues. But we still don't know what the lawsuit would say. But we still don't know. We don't know what happened. If I were to ask Brian Mast about this story, he would tell me about that lawsuit. And I would have given you guys an update, but so far, nothing happened. But the question is, have there been any more school threats? Well, we'll tell you about that when we come back. Just 38 minutes ago, MSN.com, who is part of Microsoft News, posted this article: how to report school threats made to South Florida schools and what happens when you do. Here's what you need to know. You need to say something. See something, say something. Why should you? How can students and parents report safety concerns by Miami-Dade and Brownwood schools? There are several ways. If it's emergency, call 911. Can you make an anonymous tip? What should you include in your tip? Details, and more details. I don't think my school addresses safety concern. What can I do? Parents speak with school administrators such as the principal, the school resource officer, or district police command center. But keep in mind, some investigations take longer than others. And remember, while an investigation could determine there's a threat, it could also find there is no threat. And also 2 days ago, Morrill High School, a high school student in Morrill High from Channel 3000, was arrested for false 911 calls. Now, this was the same one from Flower Bluff. Flower Bluff did the same one a month ago. This was in Wisconsin. Madison Police Department says it arrested a Madison Morrill High School student for making multiple false 911 calls this week. In an update Friday, police said the student was arrested on 2 counts of misuse 911 after allegedly calling the number twice this week, claiming he could see the outline of a gun in another student's backpack. Both times, the student called anonymously and named a different student for being the one with the gun. As of Friday, none of the threats relating to MMSC schools have been determined, with detectives quickly misdirecting them. And the Middletown school chief resigns after receiving those death threats. That's a great way to go. If you're receiving death threats, you should resign or will probably report it immediately. I guess that's it. We don't know more, but we'll give you more. We'll give you more as it happens. But in the meantime, here's what we got for you coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow on the broadcast, when Denny's attacks. Now, you may not know Denny's. If you know Denny's, you may know the Grand Slam breakfast. Well, what you may not know, it had racial discrimination and people who attack reporters. I was going to show you that today, but we are out of time. We're out of time. But we're going to save that for probably on Wednesday. So let's give you a preview. So right now, let's give you a preview of Wednesday's show. Or if I decide to do the second half, I'll let you know. So, alright. Here's a preview.
A must-see CBS 46 exclusive.
Here's a preview.
So, whoa. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me.
Hey, the news is brought in.
Come on down. Guys.
Bye.
Wow.
Bye.
So this
Wow.
Guys have no right.
This is how you respond to violations.
Oh.
That's coming up on Wednesday, or probably later tonight, depending on if I feel great. Depending on how I'm feeling. But I'll keep you posted. So that right there, what you just saw, was a preview of a Denny's employees who attacked Channel CBS 46 for health inspector violations. What were they? And why would they be so aggressive at news reporters? That's Wednesday, or probably later tonight. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Monday. I'll see you again soon for the second half, or if not, I'll see you again for Give Me a Break Wednesday. Have a nice day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll see you soon. Whichever one. Good day.